What better person to review a budget Aventus than a budget YouTuber? Hello, thank you for clicking on the video. My name's Steve and this is Everyman Fragrances. Now today I'm reviewing Aldi's, or Aldi, depending on whereabouts in the country you're coming from, but I'm going to go with Aldi. Anyway, I'm reviewing Aldi's version of Aventus. Now, most of you know I'm not a high roller, so I'm not going to be dropping £6.99 on a fragrance. That is beyond my means. You kids are crazy if you're going to drop that sort of dollar on a fragrance. But anyway, so I didn't pay for this, I got this for free. Now, before you're thinking it, you've probably been wondering when are Aldi going to sponsor this YouTube channel, and they're not just yet, so they didn't send it to me for free, unfortunately. I won this in one of the Facebook groups. Shout out to the guys in Trusted. Anyway, Charles Cooper, the legend that he is, bought this fragrance and then he gave it away in a random act of kindness. So you just throw your name in the hat, and I got selected, so I won it. So the legend sent it to me. Thank you, Charles. I will also share what his sort of thoughts on this fragrance in a little bit. But yeah, so the fragrance arrived and I just did not know what to expect from it. But I was pleasantly sort of surprised, or yeah, basically when I unpackaged it, I was surprised how much they made it look Aventus-y. So the box is, I wouldn't say it's classy or anything, but they've clearly made it sort of look quite Aventus-y, to be honest. So that sort of surprised me. The bottle less so. The bottle, when I got it out, is a bit chintzy and a bit shiny for my liking. Initially I thought this was like just a sticker, literally a sticker, but it's not. It's been sort of properly sort of engraved on there or whatever, but yeah, I thought that was just going to be a cheap sticker that peels off, but it's not. So they've kind of gone a little bit further than I was expecting for my £6.99. But yeah, the bottle is a bit chintzy. It's not a magnetic cap, but it is quite stiff on there. It can hold the weight, etc. So yeah, pleasantly surprised by the bottle. Before I get into kind of the smell and what I think to that, just to let you know, I always do this when I talk about Aventus. I always declare that I'm not an Aventus connoisseur, in case there's sort of snobs out there that are watching this video. Though if you're an Aventus snob and you're watching a review hoping that Aldi have made a £6.99 fragrance that can compete with it, well, I mean, you're a crazy fool. But that's not to say it's bad, to be fair. But yeah, just to declare, I'm not an Aventus connoisseur. I got into Aventus kind of a bit late. Not that I'm kind of into it now, but I kind of got into fragrances, YouTube, etc. Saw all the Aventus hype. And then I had to go and smell it in store. And when I first smelt it, I was a bit disappointed, to be honest. I was really quite underwhelmed. It wasn't this godlike fragrance that I sort of was expecting. But I've since owned different dupes and clones, and I've got a decant of it that I use for kind of referencing and comparisons and stuff like that for reviews. And I've sort of grown to really appreciate Aventus, and obviously mainly how just versatile the fragrance is. What does annoy me is it smells really good on other people and not so much on me. I don't know if it's my skin chemistry or what, but quite often what will happen is I'll be out and about, I'll smell it on someone, I'll think, oh, what's that? And then I'll be like, oh God, it's Aventus. God, that smells good. And then the next day or so, I'll wear it, either a clone or the sort of decant that I've got, and it just doesn't smell as good on me. It just doesn't smell, I don't know what it is. It just comes across a bit sort of dull on my skin. I don't know if it's potentially me just going a bit anosmic to it when I wear it, but when I catch whiffs of it on other people, it smells really good. But yeah, that's my journey with Aventus, just to let you know before I get into how this smells. So back to this bad boy then. When this arrived, I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't expecting much, if I'm honest. I thought it was going to smell kind of cheap, sort of synthetic or chemically, and quite thin. That's typically kind of what I've smelt when I've smelt some of the sort of the Aldi fragrances before. So I wasn't expecting much. Very first impressions is the spray is actually really good. So that sort of surprised me. But the second thing that I noticed was this smells alright, mate. It's actually surprisingly good. Now, obviously I've got to kind of balance that. Remember, it is a £6.99 Aventus clone from Aldi, but I was really surprised. I actually messaged Charles and said, okay, I'm surprised it's not as bad as I thought it was. And he said, which I agree with, he said he thinks it smells perfectly all right as a fragrance in its own right, but it's just not got that Aventus magic. It's not Aventus, which clearly it's not. What do you want for £6.99? And in short, that's probably the takeaway message from this video, that I totally agree with him. on its own right, it smells good. It smells fine to wear as a fragrance. Like, I'd happily wear this. So yeah, I'll probably, you know, could use this for sort of probably just chucking in my bag if I'm traveling, because it doesn't matter if it gets damaged or anything. But yeah, it's not got that Aventus magic that I get on other people that I don't seem to get on my skin, but obviously the comparison there is slightly flawed. The thing for me that, again, I'm not a connoisseur here, but the thing that I think it's lacking, so all the batches that I've smelt have been more fruity batches of Aventus rather than smoky. So I've never sort of smelt a really smoky batch of Aventus, so just kind of bear that in mind. So most of the ones I've smelt are typically fruity. This doesn't quite have that same fruitiness. The opening is sort of quite fresh and clean, but it's not that pineapple-y to me. I get a bit of bergamot, a hint of maybe of the blackcurrant as well, but the pineapple is just not really there. It's not like got this juicy fruitiness that kind of you get from Aventus and many of the other clones. And that's kind of what's lacking for me. So as it dries down, it then sort of dries down. It comes across as drier. And again, I don't know if it's my skin compared to other people's, as bear in mind what I said earlier. But because it's not kind of got that same fruitiness, it dries down a bit drier on my skin and not as fruity. And for that reason, it comes across as, I'm going to say it again, dry, but also a bit more mature. Now, obviously, Aventus is super versatile. You can wear it pretty much anytime, anywhere, by anyone. So you can be a young guy wearing it. You could be a woman wearing it as well. But, you know, it basically expands a full spectrum of kind of young guys in their 20s all the way up to, you know, high-class businessmen in their 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, can rock Aventus. Anybody can. But what I would say with this particular version, because it's not quite as fruity and it comes across as a bit dry, to me, it comes across a little bit more mature, so you're sort of losing the versatility at the younger age. I would say this is more for guys in their 30s to 40s onwards. Again, this is just my opinion. It doesn't matter, you can wear it, you can rock it, whatever. But that's kind of how it comes across. Like, and again, if I compared this to like Mont Blanc Explorer, for example, which is my favourite Aventus-y fragrance, that is obviously much more sort of tailored for a younger crowd. They've made that much more sort of versatile in the sense that it's more mass appealing and sort of just crowd pleasing really. And that definitely can work in your sort of 20s, even teens, where this less so, I find. This is a bit more mature as it comes across, because it dries down quite woody, a bit sort of more sort of musky, which I hate using that word as an adjective when I'm talking about fragrances, because sort of people use that not sort of referring to musk, but it's a bit sort of drier, a bit woodier, and it's not quite got that sort of fruity sparkle that you get from Aventus in the dry down. And obviously kind of from a ambergris, ambroxine type kind of vibe, it has got some element of that, some smoothness, but not to the same standard or same quality. So yeah, so to summarise, I think this does smell good. It's definitely not got that Aventus magic. If you're an Aventus connoisseur, you're probably going to be disappointed. However, if you're sort of like not into Aventus and you're just looking for a solid cheap fragrance that you can wear to work, by all means this could work. I think this could work really well, as I say, if you're not a frag head, or if you're getting a gift for somebody like your dad, your stepdad, your father-in-law, your granddad or something, and they're not into fragrances. Perhaps they wear them, but they're not like a frag head, they're not into Aventus, they're not going to know that this is an Aventus clone. If you're buying it for that sort of person, or you're happy to kind of wear it like that, this could work really well. I think this works really well in that sense, in its own right, just as Charles said. But the moment you start comparing it to Aventus, it does kind of fall flat. It is versatile. You could wear this easily for any sort of situation work-wise. The only element of versatility that I think it loses, as I mentioned earlier, is it just comes across as a little bit more mature for me compared to the original Aventus and many of the other clones. But yeah, perfectly sophisticated, very sort of versatile, pleasant fragrance that you could easily wear this to work. So yeah, I'm really quite surprised. Before I finish up, let me just comment on the performance. Pleasantly surprised. This projects quite well in for a good sort of 1 to 2 hours. I just kept noticing it. Just like Aventus, I kept kind of getting wafts of it. I wouldn't say that I smelt it constantly, But yeah, every time I sort of literally, the first day when I just sprayed it on my hand, for example, I kept catching whiffs of it throughout the whole evening. So yeah, the performance on this, the protection I'd say seems to be easy for 1 to 2 hours quite comfortably, and it sort of hangs around for several hours. I was really quite surprised, and that was going light. If you went heavy on this, you'd get some decent performance from this. I'm really surprised on the performance as well. I thought this would be quite a thin, transparent fragrance that just disappears, but it's that sort of woody, dry base seems to really sort of hold onto your skin and just hang around. So yeah, performance on this again is really good for £6.99. Thanks again for watching, do really appreciate it. Shout out again to Charles and the guys in Trusted, and please click subscribe and all that sort of shit, you know the score, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you for a video soon. Take care, much love.